did give them many teachings, but he wanted to have a twofold message. One that would be applicable to the whole generality of people, and another message that would be applicable and would be appreciated by those sadhakas or aspirants who really wanted to experience God. That was the main purpose for which he came. So, within the Sermon on the Mount, there are many teachings, but 8 main teachings are called the Beatitudes, where Lord Jesus Christ says, "Blessed are the so and so." So these teachings, after those multitudes of people came to meet Jesus Christ, he went to a small mountain top, a hill, and a few of his disciples followed him to that hill. And while he was there, he gave much of these teachings, and I will mention only the 8 main ones. Firstly, he said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." I'm not going to explain each of these sayings because it will be, for want of time, it will take too long. But we can understand some of these things very simply. Blessed are the poor in spirit. We should try to be humble. Blessed are they that mourn. Mourning not being sad. Mourning because we have not yet seen or experienced God. This is what the idea of that teaching is. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. I will just dwell upon one of these sayings, that is, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Because in the life of Sri Ramakrishna also, you must have known that over and over again, Sri Ramakrishna constantly stresses that God can be seen, He can be experienced, and one of our main things that we need to do is to make our minds pure. While stressing this point, Sri Ramakrishna, to his disciples, told of a story, a small parable. There was a person named Padmalochan, and this Padmalochan was somewhat of an eccentric character. And one day, there was a temple in the area, which, because people had stopped going to the temple for many years, it had become dilapidated, it had become dirty, droppings of all animals and birds were scattered all over the place, no worship was going on in that temple at all. Then suddenly, the villagers heard the sound of a conch coming from that temple. So normally when you hear some religious sounds, bells, conches or things like that, you will think some worship is going on there. So they followed the sound and they came inside the temple. And they found that this Padmalochan, in that same dirty temple, which was completely unfit for being used, he was blowing a conch, attracting people to that temple. Now, the person who saw this started scolding Padmalochan. And he said, "You fool, what are you doing? You have not even established the deity here, you have not cleaned up the place, you have not done anything, and you're simply making a big noise." Now, Sri Ramakrishna tells us how to understand this. This temple that we are talking about is not only an external temple. The temple that is mentioned in this story signifies the space or temple within our own hearts. And before anything else, we need to make sure that our hearts are clean, pure, completely clean. As you would clean a normal temple, sweeping the floors, cleaning the windows, cleaning the deity and all those things. Just like that, how do we do that for our inner temple? We have to make our minds pure. We have to make our minds pure, we have to think good thoughts, we have to try to pray and meditate on God. And after we do that, then we can start doing other things regarding external worship, ringing bells and that thing. So, Sri Ramakrishna tells us here, once we have made our hearts pure, cleaned our hearts of all the negative influences that are there, then we will experience God. This is almost the same thing that Lord Jesus Christ is saying when He says, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God." This is what Sri Ramakrishna is trying to indicate to us when he tells us this parable of Padmalocha. Now finally, I will just mention very shortly what the significance of this day is for devotees of Sri Ramakrishna. You know that in 1886 Sri Ramakrishna passed away, and all the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna were very much depressed, sad, disheartened, because someone who was so dear to them, someone who was such a spiritual giant, suddenly left them, and they felt hopeless, they felt alone. So each of them in their own way tried to pray and meditate on God according to their abilities. Some of them went for tapasya, some of them went to other holy places, some of them stayed close by, but tried to practice experiencing God in their own way. So this went on for several months. After that, after a few months of Sri Ramakrishna's passing away, the mother of Swami Vivekananda, who was from Anandpur, you remember recently Swami spoke about Swami Vivekananda in the shrine. You remember Sri Ramakrishna wanted Swami Vivekananda to be his assistant or attendant because he was so pure. This same lady agreed, and she made a condition. You know those two conditions. Now, this mother of Swami Vivekananda invited Swamiji, Swami Vivekananda, and all the brother disciples who were there. Why don't you come to my village, my home in Anandpur, which was several hours away from Calcutta where they were, and you can have some time of silent meditation, prayer, and it will also have an opportunity for those disciples to get their minds away from the negative feeling that they had after Sri Ramakrishna had passed away. So they made the journey to Anandpur and stayed with Swami Vivekananda's pre-monastic family for some time. And while they were there, they thought about God, they studied the scriptures, they practiced meditation. And on one particular day, perhaps because it was cold, they lit a fire. And while that fire was alight, Dhuni fire, while that fire was alight, Swami Vivekananda started spontaneously talking about the life of Jesus Christ. They also started talking about what their future plans would be. They talked about the life of renunciation that Jesus exemplified in his life, how much hearing he had for God, how much faith he had in God, and how he experienced God. And after talking about this for some time, they resolved that as they had practiced sadhana long before, and they wanted to experience God, they also made a resolution that yes, we will sacrifice everything in order to realize God. Come what may, we are going to try our best to realize God. They made this resolution in front of that fire, and afterwards they carried on. Some of the disciples who were there at that time mentioned that when Swamiji spoke, they had never seen him speaking like this, so inspired. And also, suddenly why he would speak about Lord Jesus Christ. But later on they found out that this incident actually happened on this 24th of December 1886. So when they found out that this was the Christmas Eve, the day before Lord Jesus Christ was born, they felt it was a very auspicious omen. They felt very happy that this happened, and they took it as though it was a blessing from God. So, the three things that I have spoken to you about today is the birth of Lord Jesus Christ. I have spoken to you about his teachings, the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes, and blessed are the pure in heart. And finally, I have mentioned to you what the significance of Christmas Eve is in our Ramakrishna order. It's not only the day before Lord Jesus Christ was born. It is almost also the day in which, in some way, this Ramakrishna order was formalized, because afterwards they took formal monastic vows. But at this juncture, on this 24th of December, they made the resolution that whatever happened, they would try their best to realize God. So I will close here. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.